I had a chance to visit Austin-based video game company Kingdom Games. Now, what's interesting about this group is that they provide biblically based entertainment with their Title V, The Guardians of David, out now. Here's a look at what happened when I went to their studio. Right away, I found myself in the hot seat, recording lines that they would incorporate into the gameplay.
Normally the voiceover process for a game would be much more involved than this. We would get auditions from a variety of third-party providers. We went through Bay Area Sound for ours, for what's mainly in the game. That was good. Maybe one more with just a little more,
Okay.
Warriors!
You crave the action. In the action you shall receive. Warriors, begin combat.
It's cool.
Very good.
Yeah, we're going to try to get a full build of the game put together with that in it before you take off.
Sounds good. So, more on that later. Previously, I spoke in studio with Mike Madden, the Director of Development for Kingdom Games. Okay, so what spurred you on the route to make a biblically based video game?
You highlighted a lot of it in your opening, saying that it's not prevalent there, and the founders recognize that in looking at where kids are spending their time, and rather than fighting to remove them from that activity, let's take those great historical stories that are just founded in moral and ethics in many ways, and put it in front of them in a medium that they enjoy spending time on. I think you can ask any child about their favorite game and they'll tell you top to bottom, from characters and world lore. So they obviously retained from that process. So we felt it was a place that we could contribute in a different way and present a different offering and a different option for parents.
Back at the production house, they took us through their studio, explaining the various aspects that make the experience a whole.
So this level was constructed last week. It was probably up and running, at least its first iteration was up and running by, I would say, 2 days, or a little less than 2 days working time. Each block you see here is 1 meter by 1 meter. It lets us measure out things more accurately.
I'm not sure if this is so much your department, but I'm always curious as to how, video game glitches happen. A guy just walks into a wall and...
Oh, for that one I could tell you, it's probably the design, someone like my fault. But, so we have something in most games called collision, which is, you can put down this wall and you can put down the floor, and what a lot of people would think, if they don't know too much about the subject, is that should work. Like, if I have a player and I put him down here, he's not going to fall through the floor because that's the floor. But unless you told, there's something in the computer that told you that's the floor, he will just fall through.
Now, before we get into this, when you're talking about designing the art, are you talking about the character designs? You're talking about the background art? How encompassing is this?
It's everything.
Okay.
When you set out to build a game, you have to think about the micro and the macro. What does the world look like from 300 miles? What does it look like from 3 inches? What is the level of detail that you want? This is the art book that we put together for the game. And we start with characters. So with the 5, one of the things that we wanted to do, and we picked the 5 most referenced mighty men from the Bible, and that's why we have Abishai, Jashabim, Shammah, Eleazar, and Benaiah.
Okay, so basically, do you work off, the character sketches, you get the character sketches, and how do you go about making this a 3D movable object?
So we generally start, I'll start in a program called ZBrush, where I'd actually create a digital clay sculpt of the character. And then from there, I'll take it into Maya, where we'd actually create, use a process called retopology, where we'd actually create the low poly mesh that you see within the game. And from there, we create the UVs and the textures, which is going to be the colors that are going to be on top of the wireframe of the character.
With so much competition in the existing market, I wanted to know if Kingdom Games encountered issues with their story being accepted by a mainstream audience.
It's a tough market because the gamer market is not fragmented at all. It's pretty solid, especially on PC. There's pretty much Steam, and then Origin is a distant second. With the Christian gamer market, they're very fragmented. There's a small group, a couple hundred here, a couple thousand here, a couple hundred here. So what we found is it's really hard to bring them all into one big group because everyone's in their own different communities. And I think you notice that a lot with the different sects of Christianity, Baptist, Lutheran. There's a lot of fragmentation. There are definitely people who see what we do and love it, but it's a much smaller group than Steam's, like 150 million users or something. We're dealing with hundreds at a time, youth groups, churches. It's much more local and grassroots.
And it's not kind of your, what's a good term to, the B-grade games that tend to come out in this genre or this content. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on things that, what the values of, say, like a Christian market. How can we get that into a game, but also make sure that it's still fun?
And so one of the things that we're working on right now is this arena mode that we think is going to be spectacular and provide a unique element to kind of that 1000 BC time period where King David lived, and also give the game player a lot of opportunities and freedom to replay the game and encounter different scenarios that they otherwise wouldn't get with a traditional or our traditional following of that Old Testament story in Samuel of King David, how he goes from shepherd boy to facing and defeating Goliath.
And as far as that voiceover from earlier, you crave the action, and the action you shall receive. Warriors, begin combat. You can find more reports on Infowars.com.
Globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs, sourced from powerful organic herbs, and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality.